Here we have the Firefly Big Dummy. So let's go over a few of the features that this thing has. Talk about them. Start up front here. So this wheel is an easy electric kit, and the tire is a Sweetskins tire. They're pretty neat tires. The color is actually embedded in the rubber itself. It's not painted on. And this particular tread pattern is called the Hazaria. And the Easy Kit, going back to the Easy Kit, that particular motor is an internally geared hub motor with a 5-to-1 ratio, which gives it more torque in a smaller, lighter weight package. So that motor is actually only adds about 7 pounds to the wheel. It's a pretty nice little compact motor that gives a pretty good boost to the ride. And one other thing that's pretty neat on this setup is the monkey light. Let's see if we can do a demo of that. So that's showing off both the monkey light and the electric Easy Kit. Okay, moving on. See what else we've got. On the handlebars, left side, we have a left twist throttle, which activates the motor. You can see how that just almost took off with the bike. And we have another really cool little device here that is called the Cycle Analyst. It actually shows different parameters of the electrical vehicle system, including up here the voltage, and down here the amount of energy used out of the battery and the distance traveled. It alternates between those two. And the instantaneous speed, the instantaneous amperage or wattage. The watt hours, this actually tells the total amount of energy used for a ride, and watt hours per mile tells what the overall efficiency is. For the geek, this is a great little device, and I count myself as one of those. Moving on over here, we've got a stereo system. This is an iRide stereo system, hooked to an iPod, and pretty nice for having some tunes on the bike for long rides. I ride about a total of an hour every day, so it's pretty good to have some kind of music or tunes. And then here we have a crane bell. This thing is, I really like this bell. It's like no plastic anywhere whatsoever. Very nice, clean sound. And last but not least, is this little cool device. This is the Da Vinci shifter pod. You may be able to see the shifter pod. And when I turn it, this hill gets steeper. So this indicates the steepness of the gear, basically how low the gear is. And it's just this nice, smooth, continuous turn between low and high gear up here. So this is like the high gear for totally flat ground or downhill operation. And when I'm riding the bike, I just sit here and turn it, dial it in to wherever I want it for the particular pedaling cadence that's appropriate at the time. So it's a pretty cool device, and it actually has these dual cables coming out here at the bottom that go down and go all the way back to the hub. So anyway, what else do we have? Well, the frame itself is a Surly Big Dummy, and they designed this specifically as a long-tail bike for people who want to haul cargo or just basically have a do-everything bike. So this can mountain bike, it can operate on the road, and everything in between, and it can do it with up to 200 pounds of cargo on the back. And this is the platform for the cargo. This is essentially the Free Radical kit by Extracycle that is completely modular. These are the freeloader bags. And underneath actually is what's called the wide loader. And the wide loader is a platform that allows carrying heavier stuff, and we're about to load that up. So I'll do another quick video after I load some stuff up on the bike. And in back, a nice little feature are the reflective strips. So those are bright red reflectors at night. And I've also got a so-called flash flag back here. So this is just a very simple device, just a little flag on a spring-loaded pole that waves in the wind when I'm riding. And it also has reflective strips, so at night if a car headlight shines on it, it's waving in the wind. And over on the other side, we just have another freeloader bag for more gear capacity, load groceries, bags, whatever. And on top, we have this nice pad. Extracycle now makes some of these pads. And that's a place where a passenger can sit. And some handlebars for the passenger. Stoker bars is what those are called. So it's a pretty nice place for a passenger. I've actually picked up a hitchhiker before on this, and I carry my daughter on it pretty regularly. And what else? We'll just go down here to the boom. This is called the boom, I've been told, on the bicycle. And we can see this is the motor controller for the Easy Electric motor kit. So these kinds of brushless motors require a controller which converts the direct current from the battery into a 3-phase current that alternates different coils within the motor. And then we also have the little controller device for the down low glow lights, which are these two lights tubes here. And so I have this nice zone of lit up blue around me that helps tell cars, hey, this is my space. We have a tire inflator by Zephyr, which is basically both an inflator and a sealant in one tube. So if I do get a flat, the hope is that I can just plug this thing in and hit the button and have it inflate the tire and seal the tire at the same time. So we'll see how that works. And up front we have the Surly Mr. Whirly cranks. This is a nice little versatile crankset that can be run as a single speed. And so I have it in a single configuration right now. It can also be run as a triple chain ring. I figure since this is a Surly bike, I needed to get a crankset to match that. One other thing that I hadn't mentioned is lights up front and camera up front. So here we have, it's a pretty old headlight by Night Rider. And this is a little waterproof housing case for my GoPro camera. So if I ever want to record my ride stuff, I can do that with the GoPro camera. So, one other thing I'm going to do is open up the free radical so that we can see that hub. Now here you can see I've opened up taken off the V-rack. Let's see, it plugs into this tube right here, and it plugs into that other one back there. So anyway, I've taken that off so that we can see the actual hub and wheel back here. So this is a wheel that I built. No, actually I didn't build this wheel. I shouldn't lie. This is a wheel that Chris, our mechanic, built, and it's built up on this New Vinci continuous variable hub. I showed the shifter earlier. And so this is the little shifter pod that the cables come into. So that handlebar control goes into here, and it twists a little gear that inside activates a worm gear that just controls the gear ratio inside the hub. And there are no specific gears, it's just continuous between the highest and the lowest. So anytime I'm riding along and I want a different gear, I just shift that a little bit, just change it a little bit, and that changes the gear. It's a pretty nice hub. I like it. The two sort of downsides are it's a little bit heavy. This thing weighs about 8 pounds, so it weighs as much as that easy hub up front, the electric motor up front. So that's one slight downside. The other thing is it's a little bit of a hassle to install because the shifter pod here actually interferes with this chain tensioner here. If you have a bike with a horizontal dropout that's set up for single speeds already, it's not a problem because you don't necessarily need a chain tensioner. But this bike has a vertical dropout, so it needs a chain tensioner to make sure that chain has appropriate tension and not fall off. But this part sticks out too much and interferes here with the pod, so I actually had to cut a little bit of the pod out. I did that with wire cutters. And, oh, one other little hack that I had to do, as you can see over here, there's the disc brake caliper right there. And behind it is it's actually a cutout of the bottom of a yogurt container covering the top of the disc brake, because I found that the freeloader pannier was resting against the disc brake and it made the feel of the brake very sort of sloppy. So that's about it for the rear end, but again, I really like the way the New Vinci operates, so I hope they'll keep developing these things. And, oh yeah, the only other thing I'll mention is the battery. So the electric motor kit needs a battery to operate it. So if we look carefully down here, you can see there's an electric line coming out, and then I've wrapped it up around and brought it up here, and it comes around through and then goes into the free radical pocket. It fits really nicely. There we go. So that's an Anderson power pole connector. They're very durable, and most importantly, they can handle high currents without melting, unlike many other kinds of connectors. And that's the actual battery. So this is a lithium iron phosphate battery. It has an external balancing charger, so there's no fancy battery management system within this battery. Which is both good and bad. It's good because it makes the battery less susceptible to wet weather, and makes it less likely that there will be any kind of glitches if the battery management circuit has problems, which sometimes they do. But it also means that there's no real protection for the battery. So in this particular battery, I've added a little box here with a switch, and there's a fuse inside that also. And lithium iron phosphate, for those who don't know, is the latest, greatest battery technology that has a promise of potentially 1,500 total cycles or more of charge-discharge. So these promise to be really long-lived. It always depends on how you treat it, and who made the battery, and lots of things like that. So that's about it for the Big Dummy, the Firefly Big Dummy I'm calling it. It does fly, rides really nicely, very smooth. Alright, here we are, Firefly. It's all loaded up. We've got another motor wheel there that we're going to take into town for some testing, and we've got a stereo and 3 batteries on this side, and purse on top, water bottles in the cage. This other side we've got, let's see, stereo speaker, tripod, a couple controllers, some tools down in there. Oh yeah, and another battery down in there. So, got a pretty good load. It's probably about 150 pounds overall. So, I think it'll do okay.